Who is excited about the financial learning experience tonight? Yes. Here's what my commitment is to you. You're going to walk away with at least one thing you can do to take your finances to the next level. You're going to have that. And number two, we're going to teach the spiritual principles and then show you how to practically let them come to life in your life. And so that'll be a lot of fun. Everybody should have three things in their hands. One should be a booklet that looks like this. Take a look at that booklet for a second. On the back of it is a website called iwbnin.com. Stands for I was broke, now I'm not.com. And that's where all of the free financial tools are located. We have more than 100 of them, budget templates. So if I'm sharing a tool tonight, you'll find that located at iwasbrokenowimnot.com, totally free. If you ever have financial questions, you can call us at that phone number or email us at the email address back there. And we're happy to answer your questions at no cost, no charge. Love to be able to serve people. A couple other things in the booklet. I want you to turn to page number 9. You're going to hear me reference a lot of scripture tonight. You'll be happy to know page number 9 has all that scripture located there, so you don't have to write all that down. And then if you take one page to the right, back to page 11, there's an action item list there, which is if you find yourself thinking tonight, and I hope you do at least once, saying, I need to do that, go to page 11 and write it down. Because the faintest ink is sharper and longer lasting than the brightest mind. And tomorrow in the busyness of life, even if it's very important, you might forget the things you said, hey, we need to check into that. So that's a good spot to write it down. And we're going to start filling in the blanks on page number 4 in just a couple of seconds. I want to tell you a couple of other things. There's a card that says FLE on the top of it. That card, if you fill out your name and email address, sometime in the next couple days, I'll send you an email, kind of a keeper email, with a link to all the tools and stuff that I taught today. And we will not spam you. We do not sell your information. There's some check boxes there. One of them is we have the Monday Money Tip podcast. And so we're going to be showing you a couple of these things on the screens here. But we have the Monday Money Tip podcast. That comes out on Mondays. And it's every single Monday. And I think you'll find it very helpful. If you like podcasts, it's about 23 to 25 minutes. And if you want to have that link sent to you, check that box. The second one is to meet with the financial coach. Yesterday, I trained 6 individuals, leaders from this church, to be financial coaches, where they can sit down and help you and encourage you in preparing a budget, addressing debt, and holding you accountable to dreams that you want to achieve. We'll talk more about that at the end tonight, but we want to make sure you have the chance to meet with a coach. And the third one is to participate in the 6th session, I Was Broke, Now I'm Not group study. And if you want to be a part of that group study, it'll be held, there's 2 different ones and 2 different options. And you can see this card, the other card. This is what you need to fill out to indicate which one you want to be a part of. One of them will be Wednesday evenings, starting on March 13th at 7 p.m., and the other one will be on Sunday mornings during Sunday school classes, March 17th at 9:30 a.m. And so if you want to be a part of that study to really take the next step in your personal financial stewardship learning, check that box, fill in your name, and that will be a great way for them to be able to connect with you and be able to help you take your next step. We'll talk about turning in these cards at the end of the night. One other thing on this card, there's 3 different words that describe people's financial situation: struggling, stable, or surplus. If you would check what the box that is most relevant to you, that allows us to send you information to help you move from that step on up to your next step. And if you're a first-time guest of Lighthouse, you can check this bottom right-hand box, the little box in the corner that says guest. We'd be glad to know that you're here. So grateful that you're here. And so we're fired up, and we're going to talk about several things tonight, and I'm going to share what we're going to do, okay? I'm going to teach 4 core principles. They're like foundational elements that help me and Jen get our finances in order. And after I'm done teaching those, I'm going to talk about investing. Investing is the #1 most confusing topic for people. When we ask people about money topics, which one is most confusing? Investing is 10 to 1 the most confusing. And so we're going to talk about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. We call it the oxen principle. And it will be very moving. And I will try to steer you in the right direction. That's amazing. And then we're going to talk about budgeting and getting a budget that actually works. We've all tried budgeting, right? But many of us have not been successful at it. I'm going to show you how to be successful at it. And then we're going to talk about debt and getting rid of debt. And that's going to be awesome. In fact, if you know about how much you owe, and you probably know your monthly payment, you'll be able to calculate your debt freedom date while we're sitting here tonight. That's going to be awesome. You can really do it if you download the free app, which is available on your Apple or any Android device. Just search in your app store, I was broke, now I'm not. And you can use the tools as I teach them here tonight. And guess how much that app costs? That's right, it's free. I call it free 99, right? It's $0. So you can afford that. And you can use that. And then when we're done with debt, we're going to talk about retirement. Yes. We're going to calculate how much money you need to retire well. And after that, we'll invite Sister Carrie Underwood up to sing that old hymn, Jesus Take the Wheel. It'll be awesome. And then we're going to talk about compound interest and how that, through investing, can really help you achieve not only retirement, but other larger dreams in your life. And we're going to do all that in just 8 hours. Isn't that awesome? No, we'll be done by 8 o'clock. Are you ready? All right, let's go. And so this is going to be a lot of fun. The first core principle there on the top of page 4, if you see a capitalized or underlined word, that's your cue to fill in a blank. The first one is there's power in working together. Page 4, together. Everybody say together. There's power in partnerships. Did you know that? Think about this. I'm going to show you a practical sense of this. Do you know exactly how a printer works, like a print machine connected to your computer? I don't know how it transfers toner and all that stuff onto that paper. Here's all I want to know. I want to press print and the thing come out of the printer. Who's with me? So we partner with a print manufacturer who charges us way too much for ink, right? And I press print and it prints out. I partnered with them. And Bishop T.D. Jakes says it this way. He said, good partners complete each other. They do not compete with each other. And when I'm doing financial coaching for couples, a lot of times I see they're competing with each other in their finances, and you won't make it very far. And there's power in working together. Jenny and I had to learn how to work together on our finances. The second core principle that we learned was to avoid the debt trap. Avoid the debt trap. Now listen, the Bible is very clear. Debt in and of itself is not wrong and is not a sin. It's not. But every time it does reference debt, it does so with tones of caution. Let me give you some verses. Proverbs 22:7. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant or slave to the lender. Doesn't sound so good to me. Romans 13:8. Let no debt remain outstanding except for the continuing debts of love one another. And then you read the book, the 2 Kings chapter 4, verses 1 through 7. It's commonly known as the widow's oil story. And if you're familiar with the story, this lady says in verse 1, she says, my husband who loved the Lord has died. And now his creditor, they had debt, is coming to take my 2 sons to work off the debt. And so I know a lot of people say, I'm glad they don't take our kids away right now. I'd have no kids because our debt is terrible, right? Terrible. Charles Barkley, terrible. TRBL. It's just terrible, right? But let me tell you, it's actually the inverse. Instead of our kids being taken away from us, our debt takes us away from our kids. We end up working overtime, second jobs, and the best days and the best hours and the best years of our life are taken away because we're sitting there working away to pay off this debt. And so you have to avoid the debt trap. And here's what I learned. Many people who get in debt, I said this, many people who are in debt say this. They say, I'm in a hole financially. Have you ever heard it described that way, I'm in the hole? Well, here's what I've learned. It's a rule of holes, is that when you're in a hole, there's no vision in a hole. All you do is see the side of the hole. And I found there's a correlation. If I have high debt, I have low vision. For real. And I've had people, I've done it, where you've sensed God's call on your life to do something. It has an enormous cost. But you look at your bank account like I did, and I had an average bank balance of $4.13. And you will argue with the holy God saying, I can't do that. That can't be of God. Why? Because vision is robbed from you. And so I want to encourage you, avoid the debt trap. Debt in and of itself is not wrong, but make sure you never have debt that prevents you from pursuing God's call in your life or keeps you from living generously. Amen? And obviously, if you can become debt-free, all the power to you, get fired up. That is an amazing thing. And so the third thing I learned is to develop a plan for your life. To develop a plan for your life. Like, let's be honest. In this room, we're in church. We promote honesty. We promote integrity. In other words, do not lie. Who here, you do not have your plans, hopes, and dreams written down on paper somewhere? You don't have them written down. Raise your hand. Own it. Raise them. Okay, now take that hand down to page number 11. Because you should be thinking, I need to do that. See, I'm showing you how to use this. Do you see it? Page number 11, write down plans, hopes, and dreams. And here's the good news. You're going to do that before you leave here tonight. It's going to be awesome. You're welcome. Write down plans, hopes, and dreams, page 11. And here's why it's important to write down your plans, hopes, and dreams. The subpoint there is it creates the reason for you to plan your finances. When you know what God's calling you to do, it gives you this reason to do these things that are less exciting, like budgeting. Who here loves budgeting? You love it. Okay, there's 4 people. 5 people, that's awesome. 5 people love budgeting. The accountant loves budgeting, right? Who here, you believe math was invented by Satan himself, right? See? And so let me tell you something. If you're just going to do a budget for budget's sake, well, I should do a budget. Why? Because I should. You won't do it. But when you realize that a budget is a key to maximizing every dollar God has placed in your hands, and it is the ticket to funding the dream God's placed in your heart, well, then you'll stick to a budget even though it's not your favorite activity. Why? Because it's the key, it's the reason for you to plan your finances. The 4th core principle I learned is this, is you need to put God first. You should put God first. Where should it be first, Joe? In your financial resources. Where else, Joe? With your time. Where else? With your life. And put God first. It's an amazing principle. In fact, if you want to get fired up, read the book of Haggai. You read the book of Haggai lately? Some of you didn't even know that was in the Bible. It is in the Bible. It's a minor prophet. And Haggai chapter 1, verse 6, unbelievable. He says a statement that you've probably heard before. He says that you eat, but you never have your fill. You drink, but you're not satisfied. You put on clothes, but you're not warm. And you earn wages only to put them in a purse with holes in it. Have you ever heard it? I have a purse with holes in it. It's from Haggai 1:6. And why did he say you were earning wages? This is a prophecy from the Lord, that they were putting in a purse with holes in it. What was the prophecy? The prophecy is what you earned, I blew away, declares the Lord. Why? Because of my house, which remains a ruin, while you live in your paneled houses. What is he saying? Because you didn't prioritize me, I'm not going to prioritize you. And it doesn't matter how hard you work. It doesn't matter how much energy you expend. You will never be able to make advance because I'm going to blow it away. Your earned wages put it in a purse with holes in it. He said, if you prioritize me, however, then that won't happen. And so put God first. It's a principle that I learned. Okay, so this is the underpinning of what I'm teaching here today. And man, I will tell you this. I've made some terrible investments, some TRBL ones. Has anybody made any terrible ones? Let me tell you my first stock investment. Can I tell you my first stock investment? This will be therapy for me. Don't always do this. I'm going to share it. My first stock investment was, I like the Indiana Pacers. Okay, so I grew up and I watched Reggie Miller and the Flying Dutchman, Rick Smits. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Dale Davis and Antonio Davis when we were really good and we were beating down on the Knicks and the Magic. It was awesome. And Conseco Insurance became the namesake on Conseco Fieldhouse where they play. And they were a well-run company, allegedly. And suddenly their stock was available for $2.11 a share. I'm like, oh, I need to buy some stock. So I bought $600 of stock. $600, first purchase ever of stock. No clue what I'm doing, confused, bought stock, opened up an E-Trade account, put in $600, bought $2.11 shares, however many, $600 to buy. The next day, no joke, you can look up history, it was trading for half that. So I bought another $600. The next day, it was trading for 63 cents. I did not buy more. And the very next day, no joke, it was bankrupt. And all my money went to zero. I lost $1,200. Whew. It leaves a special wound in the soul. And I will tell you, unequivocally, it's the greatest $1,200 financial lesson I ever took. You would pay more for an English class at the local college. And let me tell you something, it caused me to say, what did I not know? And how could I learn better? And it caused me to pay attention because my heart went with it and my heart got broke, zapped, smacked, right? And Conseco got their name ripped off and now it's Bankers Fieldhouse, right? Bankers Life Fieldhouse. But the bottom line is that I had to learn this, and so I'm going to talk about investing. And it took time for me to learn about it. In fact, when I was broke, I ran across this verse found in Proverbs 4, and it's Proverbs 14:4. You can see it there on page 5. And have you ever been reading God's word and he just kind of parks you on a verse and he makes you marinate in it? This happened to me with Proverbs 14:4. It says, where there are no oxen, the manger is empty, but from the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. And I felt like God said, read it again. So I'm like, okay. Where there are no oxen, there's an empty manger. From the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. And I felt like God said, read it again. Okay, this is weird. Where there are no oxen, there's an empty manger. From the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. And as I started looking at it, I realized that the writer was saying that you could have two outcomes in that verse. Look at that verse there on page 5. What are the two outcomes in that verse? Talk to me. You could have an empty manger or an abundant harvest. Fill those two blanks in. You could have an empty manger or an abundant harvest. And so I looked at that and I said, what's a manger? What is a manger? It's a food trough. Jesus was stuck in a food trough when he was born. For real. It didn't fit as good in the Christmas song, right? Away in a food trough. Just didn't sound as good, so they call it a manger. But like animals had licked it. For reals. They had. And so think about this. A manger, an empty manger, or an abundant harvest. And here's something I think to be true about you. See if this is true for you. If you had a choice between having an empty manger or an abundant harvest, I think you would choose an abundant harvest 100 times out of 100 opportunities. If that's true for you, say yes. Okay, we're on the same page. And I'm like, man, I want some abundance. This is awesome. And so then I looked at the verse and I realized that the writer, Solomon, he said what makes the difference between having an empty manger or an abundant harvest. Look at that verse there on page 5. What makes the difference? That's right, oxen make the difference. Fill that blank in. Oxen. Where there are no oxen, there's an empty manger. From the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. And I'm like, God, are you calling me in the cattle business? Like, I'm so confused right now. This is in December of 2002, believe it or not. And then, you know, God will speak to you in ways you'll understand. And I grew up on a small, I think you would call it a hobby farm. We farmed about 80 acres. We always had random livestock. And my dad always had these giant, cattle, oxen. We had Charolais beef cows. Some of you know about Angus and, Holsteins. We had Charolais. My neighbor ran Holstein milk cows and all that stuff. But we had Charolais, and every day, morning and night, me and my twin had the sheer joy of feeding these oxen in the manger. And we fed them sweet feed. And I know many of you know what sweet feed is, but it's corn and oats mixed with some molasses, and they love it. And I would go out every morning, every night, child abuse, right? My parents making me work, and I'm carrying out these 5-gallon pails, and I would literally feed them in a manger. And they would use that huge tongue. They were really docile, huge beast. And they would walk up there and they'd just eat with that ginormous tongue they have. And they would just eat and eat and eat. And then they would do this weird thing at the end where they were getting to the finish of it, they'd look around weird because their eyes are on the side of their head. They can't really see straight ahead to see if they missed anything. And they'd use that big tongue to lick everything out of the corners. And then they stand there and look at me like, hey, are you going to feed me some more? And as I'm reading this verse and I'm thinking through this thing I did every morning and night for years, all of a sudden it was like Clark Griswold in the movie Christmas Vacation when the two power cords come together and an electrical bolt comes out. I was like, I get it. This is just like my payday. Watch this. I get paid, we gobble it up, we look around strangely to see if we missed anything, we consume it too, and then we stand there waiting to get paid again. Can I get a witness? I was like, I don't know what this means, but I need some oxen. It's time to move. And so I started thinking about this, and we've got some Amish neighbors that are around us near here. I've lived in northern Indiana near Napanee and had a lot of Amish neighbors, and they farm 60 to 80 acres, and they use oxen or Clydesdales or Percherons, horses. And so think about this. Which will work more effectively, using a hoe and a rake to till up 80 acres or using an ox? Which would you choose, the left or the right? I would choose the right for $100, Alex, right? So think about this. How far would you get trying to till up 60 acres by hand with a hoe and a rake before your arms just kind of stopped moving or fell off? How far would you get? 20 acres? No. Watch this. Don't miss this. You would have a nice garden. Don't miss it. You would have enough to eat, but you would have nothing that resembles abundance. Do you see it? And so a farmer knows they need an ox, and a modern day farmer, they farm 1,000 acres or more in general, and they use a modern day ox. What do we call that? No, a John Deere tractor. It's got to be green. I'm a John Deere stockholder, and I own 3 John Deere tractors. Get fired up. And it should be 5, right, babe? All right. Now, we'll talk about that later. We're going to discover the power of working together. It's going to be awesome. But watch this. John Deere tractors can do way more than a farmer could by hand. Doesn't that make sense? So farmers know this inherently. They need oxen to help them carry the load. Now watch this. Who does the work? Who carries the load? The farmer or the ox? The ox. Who guides it? The farmer. On its own, the tractor won't go through the field, right? Now once you set the GPS, it will, right? But you got to fire it up and start it up. The ox on his own will not walk into the yoke. You have to guide it. But here's where God spoke to me. He said, Joe, you may not be living on a farm today, but it doesn't negate your need to have financial oxen helping you carry the load. Because here's the deal. There's going to be a day where you're tired and you're going to need to retire. And you will no longer be able to exchange your energy and effort for a paycheck. And if you don't have financial oxen helping you have an abundant harvest, you will retire with very little. Does that make sense? And this is where I learned there's 2 ways to produce income. There's not a spot to write this down. Just wanted to share it. Method number 1 is what most of us employ and deploy, and that is work equals get paid money, and don't work equals don't get paid money, a job, right? This is where you exchange your time, talent, energy for a paycheck, right? But watch this. Even if you work half days, you know what I mean, 12 hours a day? Anybody working those type of half days? Yeah. Let me tell you, you're limited on what you can produce. And that's why you need method number 2, and this is what the wealthy do, and that is get paid whether or not you're working. You are limited on your hours, but if you can deploy your capital, your money, to work for you as financial oxen, let me tell you, you will be moving in the right direction, and you will start to experience an abundant harvest. And I'm going to cast vision for a second. You can't get there in a day. You may not be able to get there in a year. You probably can't get there in 5 years. But in general, in a 10 to 15 year period, you can go from nothing to being in a position where you have enough oxen producing an abundant harvest for you so that you don't really care what your day-to-day work increase comes from that, because you have enough oxen that you could retire and you can go pursue your calling and you don't really care what it produces for you. Does that make sense? And so I'm going to show you how to do that and talk about many ways to do that. Now listen, I'm going to share a lot of type of investments here. They're not right for everybody, okay? But I wanted to share a broad exposure to real investments you could make. And if you want to know what I'm invested in, all of my investments are publicly disclosed. You can go to the website that's on the back of the book, iwbnin.com/investments, and you can download all of my investments. In fact, every March, I update my investments. If they're publicly traded, I even list the ticker symbol. And so you'll be looking for that update in 2 weeks and 1 day, right? But you can download last year's update right now at iwasbrokenowimnot.com/investments. Okay? So let's go. One way to get oxen is company stocks. Okay? So company stocks are nothing more than part ownership of a company. Who has an Apple device? That you own an Apple device? Okay? Okay? So did you know you can become part owner of Apple? You can. You can buy a share of stock in Apple tomorrow morning when the stock market opens up. In fact, we have a next steps area of our website at iwasbrokenowimnot.com, and I list all the different places that I like and recommend for investing. One of them is schwab.com. I like Schwab, and I'm going to log into Schwab right now on my app, and I own Apple stock, and Apple stock traded on Friday for $174.97. So for $175, you could become part owner of Apple. Get fired up. Now you're like a 1/10 billionth owner of Apple, but you are a part owner. Does that make sense? And so as they make money, are they making money? Okay, just questioning. Are you helping them make money? Are your kids helping? Is anybody playing for iCloud? Right? I mean, it's unbelievable. But watch this. They have profits and they pay out, not just Apple, but many companies, they pay out those profits to shareholders. It's called dividends. Did you work for that money? No. So Apple has, a couple 100,000 employees worldwide. How are they earning income? Type 1 or type 2? Type 1, they're exchanging their time, talent, and intellect and for a paycheck, right? But who gets to keep the profit of that company? The shareholders. Does that make sense? And so that is huge because that allows you to earn income type 2. And that's very important. And so look at all these companies. I'll share some of these. We have on here IHOP. I love them. We have FedEx. We have UPS. We have Home Depot. We have Lowe's. We have, do you have Lowe's stock? You have a lot of your money. It's time to invest in Lowe's. I went there yesterday myself. That's it. You're an investor in my stock. I love it. And now watch this. All of those companies, I'm not saying they're all right for you, but they are types of oxen that help you carry a tremendous load. And so watch this. A couple of these companies have ceased to exist, like Radio Shack. They cease to exist. Here's something that's very important to understand. Sometimes oxen die. Sometimes you kill them, right? You sell the stock and consume the money. Other times they just die or get stuck, right? And that's why I think the writer said you need oxen, plural. Because if you have one ox and it dies, how many are you left with? None. But if you have a multitude of oxen, where there are, right? No oxen, there's an empty manger. From the strength of an ox comes an abundant harvest. You need more. So this is very important. So one of the companies is Unilever. It's in the bottom right-hand corner, right? Unilever. It's a British-Dutch conglomerate, and they are an incredible company. They own Dove soap. Dove soap. It's 1/4 lotion. Now I'm going to explain something, and I'm going to do this with my wife present. She needs to hear this again. Pray that she gets saved when she hears this. It'll be great. I stay in hotels a lot. I do. And I'm going to tell a secret if you promise not to tell anybody. You promise? One person promises. But it was pastor, so that's good. Sometimes I take the soap. Sometimes I take the soap. Now watch this. Here's the deal. This is how my simple male mind thinks. You ready? I'm very simple to figure out. You ready? See if you feel me. Here's how I think. Most of the time, it's a three-word sentence I just think throughout the day. I like steak. Does anybody agree with this statement? I like steak. And here's how I think. If I get free soap, I don't have to spend money on soap, so that's more money for steak. This is simple. I think this is simple. Is anybody feeling me? And so watch this. So I bring home the soap, and my wife looks at it and says, this ain't Dove soap, and she donates it, and she goes and spends hard-earned money on Dove soap, and I get less steak, right? So watch this. What I'm trying to teach is there's brand loyalty, right? Isn't there? And so brand loyalty is super important to understand because people will buy it, and there are consumer brands. They also own Good Humor ice cream. They also own Ben & Jerry's ice cream. Oh, I heard the Holy Spirit blow in on that, right? Some Chunky Monkey, right? And some Cherry Garcia. You know what I'm talking about, right? Do you think they're profitable? Yes. And so tomorrow, if you wanted to buy a share of stock in all those companies, it would cost you over $3,500. The average person could not do that. And so, but it is important to be diversified. Ecclesiastes 11:2 says, you should invest in 7 ventures, yes, and 8. You do not know what disaster may come upon the land. In other words, don't have all your eggs in one basket. And so they invented another type of investment that many of us have access to in our retirement plans called mutual funds or exchange-traded funds. And maybe you recognize some of these companies like PIMCO, Fidelity, Vanguard, BlackRock, T. Rowe Price, American Funds. Who recognizes at least one of these mutual fund companies? Okay? And let me tell you how they work. Look at this. This is so awesome. Can I have a picture of that? She likes soap and steak. So look at this. This is unbelievable. I need a picture of this. This is a basket of soap and shampoos from hotels. This is awesome. I've never had this happen before, and that is amazing. I am so proud. Give them a hand. That is awesome. Hey, Jen, can you please come see her after this? This would be great.
I will say, ladies, we're saving that to put together homeless hygiene bags. So if you will bring your hotel soap to me, we will make that happen.
I think you're going to get shipped monthly from South Carolina. There you go. That's awesome. Thanks you for doing that. That is hilarious. That is amazing. And so mutual funds are, what they are is you have money withheld from your paycheck to go into your retirement account, or you can purchase mutual funds outside of retirement accounts as well. And you and me and 3 million of our closest friends send money to the mutual fund company. And they have different types of mutual funds with different directions on how they invest that money. And so people with more degrees than a thermometer choose where that money should be invested. And it's diversified. The average mutual fund has 200 to 1,000 investments in it. Some of them are, for example, the Investment Company of America is by American Funds. Stock ticker symbol AIVSX, the Investment Company of America, was formed in 1934. It is older than my father, and he knew Moses personally, so it is very old, right? It has had a compounded annual growth rate since 1934 of 11.9% per year. Now, some years went up 20, some years went down 4. The compound annual growth rate, the best measure of annualized return on investment, 11.9%. That's pretty good, isn't it? The S&P 500 index, if you had an S&P 500 index fund, that's in the top 500 companies that represent America's best and brightest companies, that has averaged compound annual growth rate since January 1 of 1941 to December 31 of 2018 of 11.58%. Okay? So that's very important that you take some risk with your investments, and this allows you to take risk and have a whole virtual herd of oxen working for you. And so these are very good investments to choose from. Okay? Now, many of us are invested in mutual funds. Who has a mutual fund investment through work or a retirement plan? Who has something like this? Okay? Very good. Now, I would submit to you that many people are diversified, but they're diversified within the stock market. And when the stock market's going up like it has the last 2 months, you're like, yay! When it's crashing like it did in November, December, you're like, no, right? And so it's long-term stuff, but I encourage you to be diversified just within the stock market, but also have a herd of oxen outside of the stock market, right? And so let me talk about some other types of investments. One of them is real estate. I love real estate. It's in one of the oldest investments ever. Think about this. Acts 4:36, I shared it today. There were no needy persons among them. From time to time, those who owned land or houses sold them, brought the money, laid at the apostles' feet. What's that mean? They liquidated assets. 2 verses later, it says Joseph, whom the disciples called Barnabas, which means son of encouragement, sold a field that he owned and brought the money and laid it at the apostles' feet. So real estate. I see that real estate is connected to being able to be generous. And so there's 3 primary types of real estate to consider. One is commercial property, right? So these strip malls, right? There's a Chinese restaurant, there's the dry cleaners, there's the nail salon, right? They're all renting from that commercial property owner. Make sense? Did you know somebody owns that building? Why not you? Joe, I'm trying to make it to Thursday. I get that. But I'm trying to lift some heads up. I'm trying to get you to have some vision to think beyond what your bank account says right now. Because if God owns a cattle on 1,000 hills, he can sell some for you and you can achieve these crazy dreams. I'm not saying it's right for everybody, but it's right for somebody. Commercial property. A second one is residential rental property. Right? This could start with as simple as renting a room out of your house. Right? And then it could be a single family residence. It could be a duplex, a fourplex, all the way up to 1,000 units next to Indiana University, right? And that's something that can be very powerful. And then another type of real estate that I personally love is raw land. And so I bought a lot of raw land. And let me tell you something. The benefit of raw land is, in South Carolina at least, we have a deer infestation problem. It is my duty to reduce the infestation. They are harming the innocent plants. It's terrible. And they're locally grown, organic, antibiotic-free. I mean, it's unbelievable. And so last year we harvested 4. It was awesome. And so I would just say this, that those are 3 types of investment. They're not making much more land anymore. Did you know that? Except for on that one island in Hawaii, right? But I hear it's a hot real estate market. It's a bad joke. Volcano, hot, get it? Do you know that volcano has formed over 700 new acres? That's more than a square mile. That's awesome. I think that is great. And that's a great joke too, by the way. I'm going to pat myself on the back, right? Another type is a small business. So where are my small business owners in here? You're a small business owner. Man, I know you're carrying some weight and some pain and some agony, but you're what powers America. And it's what makes America incredible, is this ability to have a dream and try to make it come to life. And if it blows up and crashes, start again. I love it. And so we've been able to get 5 little small businesses off the ground, and it's awesome. And I encourage you to do that. Small businesses can be a great diversification. And one of the things I want to challenge you with your small business, hear me, small business owners, and anybody wannabe small business owners. Do you own a business or do you own a job? Do you own a business or do you own a job? Let me tell you, it's a simple question on how you can answer that question. If you left for 3 months, could it still run without you? If it can, you own a business, congrats. If it can't, you own a job. Here's the problem. And neither one is bad, right? But here's what I would tell you. If you own a job, when you cease working it, all this work you built into building that company, it will cease. You can't sell it. But if you can create it into a business system, you'll have an asset that you can sell that can be a huge help at retirement, right? Whether it continues to pay mailbox money, like Phil Robertson and Duck Dynasty, or whether you sell it outright. So think about ways that you can convert an art or a job into becoming a business. My dad built business for 58 years building homes. 58 years. And had nothing he could sell at the end. Because it was built on his name, solo him, right? And that's painful for me to see that take place. And he had 6 boys, and none of us took over the business. I told you how much we ran away from that. So small business can be great. Another one, you may love the idea of small business, but you don't want to start from scratch. So a franchise could be a great option for you. A franchise is kind of a proven small business model. And so franchises come with corporate overhead support, maybe a sales system, national advertising, a proven method for attracting and retaining customers, and all of your financial systems in place, right? And so all of these companies up here, they offer franchises. 95% of McDonald's locations are franchised. In fact, if you want to learn how franchising works and be entertained at the same time, pull up Netflix and watch The Founder, which is the story of Ray Kroc, right? The McDonald brothers, they owned a job. Ray Kroc figured out how to convert it into a business. And as a result, they got a couple million. Ray Kroc became the multi-billionaire, right? And it's a great way to see that. And I would tell you it's as simple as a Google search to find out how much it would cost to get one of these franchises. Are there any franchise owners in here? Some franchisers? Anybody? No franchise owners in here. Well, somebody got to start so you can be the first. Come on, Chick-fil-A, baby. There's no Chick-fil-A in Richmond. We need to pray right now. Jesus, move on Dan Cathy's heart right now, Lord, and bring the Christian chicken to Richmond. Amen. All right. It's amazing. I'm not going to tell you we have 3 in my little town. It's pretty amazing. It's awesome. I'll eat some tomorrow for you. It's great. Because I can't today. It's Sunday, right? But it's awesome. So franchise can be a great investment. Another one can be a talent you possess. Many of us, God's given us an extraordinary talent. It's a diverse talent, but it's a talent, and you know it's unique to you. For example, one thing I learned when I moved to South Carolina is if somebody can really sing, like they can really sing, they've got a voice, they'll say, that girl, she can sing. They'll say, she sang that song. I'm like, huh? And so like Whitney Houston, can we all agree she could sing? So watch this. So I'm going to say a statement about your talent, okay? And I'm going to refer to your talent as it in the statement, okay? And all this could do is change your life. That's all it could do, though. You ready? If you can systematize it, then you can monetize it. If you can systematize it, then you can monetize it. Let's talk about Whitney Houston. How did they systematize her voice? She sang into a microphone. And some of us, if we were being honest, we bought her first album on an 8-track. Yes, we did. My brothers did. And then it came out on a cassette tape. We bought it again. And then we got it on a compact disc. Bought it again. And then we ripped it off on Napster. I mean, you did. You did not buy it. And then you bought it on your iPod. Then you lost that password and bought it again on your iPhone. You bought the same song 5 times. Didn't you? And it's awesome. And so they systematized it. And you know Thomas Kincaid, the famous painter of light? Did you know it's estimated that 1 in 4 American households has a print of his paintings in their house? Right? How? They systematized it. They made limited reproduction prints, calendars, mugs, all that stuff. They learned how to systematize it. Poor Van Gogh had to get another painting every time he wanted paid. The poor guy, right? No wonder they called it starving artist. Let me ask you a question. Whitney Houston could sing great. Let me ask you a question. Before 1900, do you think there were other people on planet Earth who could sing like nobody's business? Could flat wail? Could play the piano, Mozart, Chopin? We'll never know what they sounded like. Doesn't it break your heart? It breaks my heart. Why? Because they didn't figure out how to systematize it. But we live in an age where you can systematize a lot of stuff. I love teaching personal finances. How have we systematized it? Books, online courses, right? Downloadable resources, and we've been able to systematize it. It allows us to monetize it and allows us to have the resources to have a team and go change the world. Make sense? You can do the same thing. So think about your talent. You might be able to develop intellectual property. You might have a patent. You might be an artist. I remember I was in Canada, way out near Whistler in Vancouver, BC area. Has anybody been out there in BC, British Columbia? It's unbelievable. It's gorgeous. I was in somewhere. I was 1 hour east in Chilliwack. Woo, unbelievable, gorgeous. And they have sockeye salmon running there and everything. And this guy came up after I taught this class, and he's like, Joe, I want to invite you over to my house to eat moose. I'm like, that sounds awesome. And so I went over to his house, and he served me moose. And after he invited me, though, but before I went there, a guy came up after the guy walked away and said, you know that guy's famous, don't you? I'm like, no, I'm from Indiana. I am a long ways from home. And they said, and it turns out that he loved painting. And he loved painting different styles. And he actually has developed 10 different characters that paint. 5 of them have male names, 5 of them have female names. And he paints in different characteristics and different things. And he was a high school janitor because he couldn't make money painting. And one day, on his way to his moose hunt, he drives 30 hours straight north from Chilliwack. That is near the Arctic Circle to moose hunt. One day, he got an idea of a painting. And he thought about the whole moose hunt, came home, painted it. It went to the New York Art Buyers Market. And just put it in perspective, if you sell 150 prints a month, you can make income off that. You can quit your job. If you sell 300 a month, you rolling. This painting sold over 6,000 prints a month for like 10 years. And it's incredible. And he doesn't work as a janitor anymore. And he has a private studio. And he says, Joe, it's hilarious. I have people that commission paintings from me, and they call the different artists. And I answer according to the artist. I have different voices for all of them too. He's a true artist. He's a loony bin. I love it. And he said, I've had the same person order paintings from 2 different one of my artists, and they don't even know I'm the same person. Isn't that awesome? I love that. And so I got to see the painting. He has high security on it, but he has a talent. Do you see it? And so you can monetize it, and it'll be a wonderful thing. And so my question is, do you have oxen? Okay, so I want you to take a couple seconds and maybe go to page 11 and write down what oxen you want to pursue here in the next year or so to be able to start really producing income for you. Page 11, what type of oxen? Do you want to look at real estate? Okay, that's good. But we have clarity. We have clarity. They have a bunch. They don't want it anymore. Hey, one of the reasons why, I write this in my book, Oxen. I write down the reasons why people don't own oxen. One of the reasons they don't is because oxen leave a lot of messes around the pasture. They kind of, don't they? And it kind of stinks, right? A lot of manure. But you know what? I figured out you can take that manure and spread it around. Some stuff will grow from it. Love it. And so let me tell you a couple things. I want to talk about current financial events. And then I'm going to open it up for questions for a couple minutes. Then we'll talk about budgeting and debt and all that so we can free up money to invest. The current market conditions have been back up. Has anybody noticed this? The stock market. It's great. But I wanted to talk about that for a minute because I am not a day trader. In fact, people who day trade eventually flame out. They burn out. They bankrupt. Almost all of them. Very few people can time the market effectively. And so I have a personal rule. I can't say it's a biblical rule, but it's a personal rule, and I want to share it with you. Here's my rule. There is a difference between saving and investing. Let me explain it in farming terms. Saving means the grain's in the storage bin. If it starts growing in the storage bin, we tend to freak out, right? We don't want it sprouting. It's there for safekeeping. So if I think I need money in the next 5 years, if I think I might need this money in the next 5 years, I'm not putting it at risk in an investment. I'm putting it in safekeeping. And I've got math to support this. 97% of any 5-year period of the stock market, 97% of any 5-year period you choose have made money. Okay? So that's why I chose 5 years. 100% of any 10-year period has made money. So I choose the 5 years, and so if I think I need it in the next 5 years, I save that money, and I save my money in an online bank. Hear me, I did not say a bank with a website. I said an online bank. I have links to this under our next steps area, but I'm gonna list my favorite online banks. I like Marcus, M-A-R-C-U-S. It is Goldman Sachs Bank. It's Main Street Bank. It pays 2.25% interest, FDIC insured, $1 minimum balance, no fees. It pays the equivalent to an 18 to 24 month CD, but I don't lose the liquidity of my money. I'm not personally wanting to lock my money in CDs because I think rates are going to continue to go up slowly but surely, and I don't want to be locked in. And these rates automatically adjust as Jerome Powell walks out as a Federal Reserve Chair and says, I'm increasing the federal funds rate. So Marcus, MARCUS.com, 2.25% interest. My second favorite is Ally Bank, ALLY.com. That is the former GMAC that many of us grew up with, General Motors Acceptance Corp. They've renamed to Ally. They pay 2.20% interest. $1 minimum balance, FDIC insured, no fees, phenomenal. Okay? And what I love about those online banks is you can also have something called sub-accounts. So when I log into my account, I don't just see one number there. It says emergency fund. It says vacation fund, car maintenance fund, right? Big time dream fund, whatever it might be. And you can have as many sub-accounts as you want. And I have automatic extractions from my bill pay account on the timing of my choice, and it goes into those separate accounts. So I always know how much I have saved for each of these things. Make sense? So Marcus, Ally Bank, and the second one, they're tied, is Discover Bank and American Express Bank. Both of them have banks, and they're right now paying 2.10%. So I like them less, right? I tend to like the ones that pay me more money. And so if I think I need the money in the next 5 years, I have it in safe mode. Why? I can't risk it declining in value. But if I know I don't need it in the next 5 years, then there's a greater risk called inflation that's nipping at the heels of this money, and 2-something% interest isn't going to keep me ahead of it, so I put it at risk. So I wanted to speak to this type of investment for a second here. Who has a dream to help your kids or grandkids with college? You want to help them with their college expenses. Okay, hear me on this. I recommend a 529 college savings plan. Okay, so a 529 college savings plan, if you're in Indiana or Ohio, whichever state you're in, use your state's plan. You can invest it in mutual funds, just like I showed here. You can either choose an age-based one, which will become, it's more risky when they're young. As they get closer to 18 years old, it gets more conservative. Or you can choose to select the investments yourself. And you can deduct contributions to that 529 from your state income taxes. Number two is that money will grow free of taxes, and you can use it for any qualified educational expenses at any accredited college in the U.S. 50 states or its territories. So if you're in Ohio and you want them to go to the Ohio State University, but they choose instead to go to the Purdue University, right? You can use Ohio funds in Indiana, and if they are at Purdue and they choose to go to the Ohio State University, vice versa. Make sense? And so the other thing I love about a 529 is the definition of qualified educational expenses is pretty loose definition. So you can use it for a lot of expenses. And number two, you retain ownership of the money. So if your child or grandchild chooses to major in partying, the money will dry up. Does that make sense? And the other thing that I love about it is if your child gets an academic or an athletic scholarship, you can pull out an amount equivalent to that scholarship out of that fund free of penalty. Okay? And so let me show you this 5-year rule in action. My daughter, when she got into high school as a freshman, I called my 529 and I said, I want to move 1 year's worth of money to safe mode. Why? I'm in the 5-year window. Sophomore year, I moved another year over. Junior year, senior year. Why? Because I don't want to look at her, go select colleges, and then look at her and say, I'm sorry, I left it at risk. The market imploded. Now we don't have the money. Because I don't have time to recover from it. Make sense? So I started with $100 a month when she was 4. When I got debt-free about 14 months later, except for my house, we bumped it up to $200 a month. okay? So when she's about 6, we went to $200 a month. And it started growing, and then the economy collapsed, and the 401k turned into a 201k, and then into that box of Special K. And but we kept investing, and so it started growing. And when my daughter was 11, I went out for a run with her. I like running. I love running. Are there any runners in the house? I love running. And so I went out for a run with her, and she just ran away from me. Fing. And I was like, hey, slow down. You're going to wear out. And I'm going to have to come find you or drag you back and blah, blah, blah. And the truth is she had to stop and wait on me 4 times. So the spirit of discernment fell on me and her mother, and we said, we think you can run. And so in 7th grade, she went to the high school and tried out for the cross-country team. You may know her high school. It's been featured in a major movie, Radio. If you watch that with Cuba Gooding Jr., that's T.L. Hanna. That's her school. It's one of the biggest schools in South Carolina. Radio is still there. He's 56, and he's still a junior. It's awesome. And you should watch the movie. It's very heartwarming. And actually, Coach Jones lives across from my in-laws in South Carolina now. It's pretty neat. But she showed up in 7th grade, and not only did she run, she stole all their lunch money and beat all the seniors. And I knew there was some rivalry going on when she came home and told me the seniors told her that the coach didn't want her to run fast. So she became the #1 runner, became an all-state runner, nearly won state 3 years in a row. So she ended up getting contacted by 119 coaches. So I'm going to show you a principle. You cannot outgive God, and God will give you blessings you cannot contain. And so we got to go on this journey and go select schools, and she ended up selecting a school, and by the time we went to look at schools, she had over $100,000 sitting in that college fund. And now we need less than $15,000 of that money total for her college, because the rest of it is all paid for due to an athletic and academic scholarship. So let me tell you what we're doing. Right now, I've got her looking at rental houses, and we're going to pull out an amount equivalent to the scholarship and buy her first rental house. Do you see it? That's the overwhelming, abundant blessing that I cannot contain straight from the Lord. Why? Because I put seed in the ground, and God honored it. Make sense? That's the 5-year rule, okay? So with that said, I want to stop and ask if you have any questions about investing before we move on to budgeting. Yes? Yes. So Dave Ramsey says, stop investing, don't contribute to retirement plan until you're debt-free except for the house. I say that is a colossal mistake. It is. Most people do not have the gazelle intensity that he says to do. They encounter life, and they end up foregoing a company match for 4 or 5 years. Who's in your under 30 in here? Who's under 30? Listen, if you forego the match of 3% in your regular pay for 5 years, at retirement at 65, that'll be a difference of $350,000 in their account. They must get the free match. It's part of their compensation. So I do say contribute up to the match. Anything above that, use that to kill debt. And so we teach a principle. He says the baby steps. We teach one called the ladder. And it's actually week number 1 of the study. That's what that's focused on, is teaching how to order those steps. And I like to say start the match. And the reason for it is this heart issue. We always view wherever your money is, there your heart is also. I want people's hearts to get connected to the idea of compound interest, that your money can make money for you, because that allows you to be the most generous ever. And so that's a great question. There's other question back here. Yes. You can start investing right now. Do you have a job? Any type of job? You can, yes, you mow yards. That means you have earned income. The moment you have earned income, you can invest in a Roth IRA. So my daughter travels with me, sells books, has been doing it since she was 14. And I'll never forget proud dad moment. Let me indulge myself for a second. We're going to Santa. And my boy, he's like 3. It's awesome. He's bribing Santa. He brought cutouts of everything he wanted and candy and a dollar bill. He's bribing Santa to get what he wanted. And he's there telling Santa what he wants. My daughter's standing there next to Santa. She's too big for this. And so he tells Hannah everything he wants. And then Santa looked up at my daughter and says, "What do you want for Christmas?" And she said, "I want a Roth IRA." And do you know what Santa said? "I know where you can get a good one. She said, where? And he said, join the Marines. So Santa has a word. But she started a Roth IRA. That's what she got for Christmas. And you can invest the entire amount that you earn. So if you earn $500 in a year, you can invest up to $500 in a Roth IRA. And that will be in your money, your account. And I encourage you to start early because we'll see in a few minutes, time matters most. And I'll never forget sitting in college with my college roommate. And my college roommate was on the phone and he traded $50,000 of stock. He was 19. And I perceived there was knowledge he had that I did not have. And it's because he had been working in his parents' restaurant since he was like 5. And he was investing. And so I encourage you to start early. And you will go very far, and you'll be able to bless the multitudes. Yes? Do I recommend the Roth over the traditional? I do, and it's for 2 reasons. Although both are great, a regular 401k versus a Roth 401k, both are great because they have tax advantages. The reason I like a Roth is at age 70 and a half, you will be subject to something called RMDs, required minimum distributions. Roth IRAs are exempt from that. And it allows you to maintain tax advantages until the end of your days. And so does a health savings account. A health savings account is a hidden IRA. If you have access to that for a high deductible health plan, you can invest your HSA, pay your medical bills out of your regular budget, and at age 65, HSA money is no longer required to be used for medical expenses and is not subject to RMDs. RMDs kind of are terrible because you lose your tax shelter. And that starts to become quite penalizing. And so that's why I recommend a Roth IRA. Both are fantastic. Any other questions? We kind of answered questions over here. I'll come over here. Any other questions over here? Okay, is this helping anybody? Okay, now we're going to talk about planning and debt. This is going to be a lot of fun. And here's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about planning, debt, and budgeting and investing. It's going to be awesome. So Proverbs 21:5 is the second verse that I was reading in God's word that stopped me in my tracks. And it said, the plans of the diligent lead to profit as surely as haste leads to poverty. And again, I looked at this verse and I said, there's 2 outcomes. What are the 2 outcomes in this verse? Profit, poverty. So again, I think this is true for you. If you have the choice of receiving profit or being in poverty, I think you'd choose profit 100 times out of 100 opportunities. If that's true, say yes. Okay, so we're on the right track. So profit means money left over. So what are 2 things the writer said yields profit? Look at that verse and tell me. That's right, you gotta have a plan, fill that blank in. And what's the second one? Diligence, right? You gotta have the plan, and then you need to be diligent to follow the plan. The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty. We're on page number 6. And so you need to have a plan for your life, and then you need to have a plan for your money to support it. You got to be diligent to follow both. And so here is the you can do this point for the bottom of page 6, is there must be a plan. There must be a plan. Do you have a plan for your life? We asked that question. So I want to ask the question, would you have a plan for a wedding? Have you ever been to an unplanned wedding? In Gatlinburg? That didn't make it long, right? Anyhow, moving on. But let me tell you, who's recently planned a wedding? What all do you plan for a wedding? Talk to me. The place, the venue, the food, the music, the dress, the decorations, the cake, the music, the minister, who's going to stand up there with you, who's invited, who can't sit next to who, right? All this stuff is very important. And who has young daughters here? Who has young daughters? Raise your hands. All right, let's pray. Jesus, you see these hands. Remind him you're a prince of peace, not of fear. Amen. All right, because I'm getting ready to tell you a number. You know what the average cost of a wedding is in America, the latest stat? $33,000. Get fired up. And how long do we want the wedding ceremony to last if we're attending a wedding? 20 minutes max. Have you ever been to an hour-long ceremony? It's like, oh my goodness, what is going on, right? The food had better be great. And then there's a party afterwards. How long does that last? I married a girl, good South Side Polish girl from Chicago. The party went on for days. We escaped, right? So let me tell you, then we woke up, we married, right? How long is that supposed to last? Right? Forever, till death do we part, not till debt do we part. But how much do we typically as Americans spend on the till death do we part planning? Usually nothing. Hey, and so this is where I came up with the statement that money is a journey, not just a moment. But if we're not careful, moments will train wreck the journey. And so isn't it crazy? We'll spend on average as a collective group of Americans 33 grand for a wedding. And then nothing on the thing that should last all the time. It's because we're infatuated with moments. You want more evidence? Think about your kid's first year birthday party. You lost your mind about it, right? I told you about this baby boy that we got finally after 10 years, right? And I remember he was turning 1. Jenny couldn't sleep. She was tossing and turning, couldn't sleep one night. I'm like, what's on your mind? She's like, Keaton's birthday party. Do you think he's going to like it? And because I'm a clueless husband, I said, he's 1. He's not going to remember any of this stuff. I don't know why we're doing any of it. And so, sometimes, guys, you don't have to get it. You just have to get it. Get it? So we spent money. And I was right. He doesn't remember any of it, right? But watch this. Would you want your surgeon to have a plan? If you're going to have surgery, you want them to have like plan A through Z, right? What if the doctor met with you and said, like that AT&T commercial, guess who got off restriction? Hey, you nervous? Yeah? Yeah, so am I, right? Oh, and I don't want that doctor. I'm leaving. And so think about this. If you want the surgeon to have a plan, and you would plan out a wedding like crazy in your kid's first year birthday party, why on earth would you not have a plan for your money? Everything in life, either directly or indirectly, costs money. True? So Jesus spoke about it in Luke 14:28-30. He says, suppose one of you wants to build a tower. Will he not first sit down and estimate the cost to see if he has enough what? Oh, he's on the right topic, isn't he? Money to complete it. For if he lays the foundation and is not able to finish it, everyone who sees it will ridicule him, saying, this fellow began to build, just wasn't able to finish. Hey, by the way, there's 38 parables documented in your Bible in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. 17 of those, Jesus used money or possessions to illustrate the point. Why did he do that? Because he knew we would understand it, right? And so that's a huge thing. So why do you want to be financially successful? So turn to page 7, and I want you to write down some of your dreams. I'm going to facilitate this. Where do you guys want to travel? Talk to me. Australia. Write it down as you say it. Ireland. Italy. Huh? Japan. Write it down. Where else? Egypt. Disney World and Land and Paris and Tokyo. Write them all down. Where else do you guys want to go? Huh? Jerusalem, the Holy Land. Where else? Where do you want to go? Massachusetts. I love it. Go in the fall. It'll be an awesome time to go there. You can go all through Boston, see the Boston Celtics play, look at all the colonial stuff. It's amazing. It's an amazing place to go. Huh? Where else? Huh? Gatlinburg? Yeah. Hope it's not a one-day notice like I had. Okay? And so, anybody want to go to Hawaii? Anybody? Write it down. The earth is round. It's a sign from God we should go around it. Right? Anybody want to go to Fiji? Anybody want to go to the Philippines? In Galapagos Islands. Come on, write that down. Good luck spelling it, right? But, huh? Hunt red stag in New Zealand. I'm with you. Let's go. And so I encourage you to write them all down. Because let me tell you, flights depart on the hour. For real, it has a number, doesn't it? It has a cost. And the first step to believing it could happen is to write the dream down. Anybody want to start a business? Write down the business. Write it down. Anybody want to be able to give more money away? Write it down. I've got all my plans, hopes, and dreams that I want to write $1 million check to my church and have it clear. Right? Right? Is that important? It's important. You notice I said that over here. right? But both of those are important. That's my dream. Yeah. Yeah, anybody agree with that? That's great. That's awesome. Hey, there's going to be all these people are millionaires. Some are already there, but some are going to get there because of what they're hearing tonight. For real. Hey, listen, if you invested money in an S&P 500 index fund 40 years ago for $100 a month, $100 a month for 40 years, it's $1 million every time. Not once out of $1 million, every time. So we'll show you how to do that here in a little minute. But why do you want to be financially successful? Anybody want to help your kids or grandkids with college? Write it down. Anybody have a dream car? Huh? Write it down. Do you want a 1981 Datsun B210? No. Do you want a 74 Oldsmobile Delta 88 Royale? Yeah. Right? You write it down. And so I encourage you to write down these dreams because it's the dreams that will fuel you to do budgeting. And here's how you budget. The key, you write this down on page 8, top left-hand corner of page 8, is spend your money before the month begins. You can do this before. Everybody say before. I know some of you are confused because you're like, Joe, I already spend all my money before the month begins. So it's not helping. What I'm really saying is you need to plan it before you spend it. Why? Because Proverbs 21:5, the plans of the diligent is planning before or after an event happens. It's before. The plans of the diligent lead to profit. Do you want profit? Have a plan. And so the next thing that I want you to know is a formula I discovered. It's a secret formula I discovered that income minus outgo has to equal exactly 0. Trademark. Exactly 0. Trademark. And the reason I say it's exactly 0 is I can take the E from exactly and the Z from 0 and say it's easy to win with your money. Trademark. No one cares. We will move on. Right? But some of you are saying it shouldn't equal exactly 0. There should be profit left over. What if I told you outgo included spending money into savings and investments? Have you ever thought of saving and investing as a bill or a debt you owed yourself? I want you to think of it that way. Because who makes you save money? Do your kids help you save money? Does the government help you save money? So who's going to make you save money? Only you. And I'll tell you something that broke my heart as a young person, as I was just getting out of my mess. It's like scales fell off my eyes, and I worked as an engineer in a bunch of manufacturing facilities, and a lot of these facilities had people who had worked there 40 years. They were nearing the end of their career. And I saw people who had literally started about the same year, worked side by side for 40 years, very similar lives, yet one chose to be an investor early on, and the other one, they just didn't do it. One's retired, worrying like crazy that they won't be able to make it. And the other person is like planning all these different things they're going to go do because they're set. Worked the same job, earned the same income. One chose to be an investor, one did not. You got to have a plan, and you got to intentionally save money. And so 3 things you should save for. You can write it in that bottom box on page 8 there on the left. 3 things you should save for. The first one is emergencies. These are the unplanned, unexpected emergencies. Are they going to happen? The roof's going to leak, isn't it? Going to get in that little auto fender bender. The car tires are going to wear out. The brakes are going to go out. Something's going to break on the car. You're going to have the furnace go out, the air conditioner go out. You're going to have somebody have a medical bill. Life's going to happen. It's going to cost money. And here's what I've learned. When you have no money, they tend to happen like in multiples. Have you noticed this? And you're like, I'm never going to get ahead. This is impossible. I give up. Let's go out to eat on a credit card. Right? Because you just give up. But I encourage you, build the wall of savings. And I encourage you to start by targeting 1 month's worth of expenses. Whatever the month is for you, 1 month's worth. It allows you to do a monthly budget, and it can accommodate nearly any financial emergency you'll ever have. And here's a huge bonus to think about. When many of you are getting tax refunds, you're getting ready to get them. And some of you are spenders, and you think the word fun in the middle of the word refund is a sign from God you should blow it all. That is not true. The most powerful thing you could do if you don't have a month's worth of money saved up is to save it. You have no idea the stress you're carrying. Hey, let me be honest. This is a real feeling. I'm going to be very clear here. I had no idea the burden I was carrying. And in February of 2003, 3 months after we started our journey, we put our tax refund in savings. And I was able to breathe in a way I'd never breathed before. All of a sudden, if the car broke down, I could just pay cash for it. I did not know car repair places took cash. For real. I'd never paid cash for a car repair. And so all of a sudden, I had space between me and crazy happening. And it allows us to focus on our mission that we're called on. Margin allows you to stay focused on the mission. And that's huge. The second thing you should save for is known, upcoming, non-monthly expenses. They're known expenses, but they're not monthly, so they tend to sneak up on you. Property taxes, annual or quarterly life insurance premiums, homeowners association fees. It can be things like Christmas and vacation or special days like anniversaries or birthdays. And if we don't save for them on a consecutive basis, they will sneak up on us. And so I encourage you to save for them just like an escrow account works on a home mortgage, where they take your annual property taxes, your annual homeowner's insurance, divide it by 12 and collect 1/12 per month. Make sense? And we have a known upcoming expenses calculator located, guess where? On the wildly popular website and on the app. And you can type in Christmas, vacation, car replacement, car repairs, and save. And the whole key is to convert that. It'll convert it to an every paycheck expense. And I save that in my online bank. And let me tell you, it's great fun to be able to go on vacation and no debt follows you home. In fact, I got to look at my daughter and say, hey, baby, what do you want to do for your high school graduation gift? And she's like, I'm going to study graphic design. She loves art, and she's studying business with graphic design, and she wanted to go to Europe and look at all the art. And so me and Jen and our daughter Malia boarded a flight May 29th, and we flew to London, spent 4 days there, took the Channel to Paris, spent 4 days there. And on my 21st wedding anniversary, we rode through the edge of the Alps from Paris to Florence, Italy, spent 4 more days there, and flew back to London, and I ditched the two of them in Wales. I came back to the U.S. They spent 4 more days there, and let me tell you, no debt chased us home. That's awesome. And we have lifetime memories, which is awesome, and no debt memories to remind me monthly. Make sense? And I want the same thing for you. By the way, just in case you want to plan that trip, I planned that, and I didn't say no to much, right? And we went everywhere to everything. I went and saw the Mona Lisa. I saw Michelangelo's David. He needed clothes, right? And I went and I saw the big red Duomo, right, in Florence, and it cost about $4,300 a person. That's not bad. I felt pretty good about that, especially since I didn't have debt chasing me home. So I encourage you to do that. It was a known upcoming expense and a dream. Does that make sense? So it is tied with my third thing. That's a dream. I want you to be able to fund your dreams. Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled is soothing to the soul. I believe that's Proverbs 13:4. Might be 13:8. Somebody can check me. All right, so let's budget. Now, you can use a pencil, paper, and a calculator, but I know that many of you just said that Satan invented math, so our tools do the math for you. Isn't that awesome? In other words, we remove Satan from your finances. You're welcome. And income minus outgo should equal what? No, exactly 0. If you say 0, I can't say it's easy. I can just say it's Z. So what's it got to equal? Income minus outgo should equal what? Exactly 0. So let's type in our budget. And are we doing this before the month begins or after? Before the bills show up or after? Before we get paid or after? Before. The plans of the diligent, that's what leads to profit. And so it's still a good time to do it, even though today's the 3rd. You can still prepare a budget for March. So we put in our income. What's our income on page 8? 4,000. Okay, now look, it turns yellow. Did you see that? Feel free to ooh and ah. I don't want you to keep that in. And it's saying, caution, there's money in your plan that is not named. What happens to unnamed money? It will sprout wings and fly away, for real. And so we need to plan every dollar. And so let's say that this is our take-home pay, and we've already contributed to our retirement account. Does that make sense? We got the company match, and we go to the next thing. What do we put in there first in the outgo side? It's a core principle. Put God first. Do we tithe on our gross income or our net income? I always answer that with another question. Do you want to be blessed on the gross or the net? I tithe on the gross. And so that's how I do that. And so we continue on, and we put in what? What's next? So the emergency fund, $200, and we put in the mortgage, and we get everything in there, and it turns red. We have too much outgo. Right? And they say, if your outgo exceeds your income, your upkeep will be your downfall. Right? And so can we live that way, yes or no? Oh, we're in church, we're like, no, Joe, we could never live that way. I lived that way for years. How do you live with a negative number? Swiper? You're going to be swiping. And I did. And so we don't want to. We can't prosper if we do that. So there's two ways to make this budget work. Increase income, decrease outgo. Now watch this. This is the power of planning. The plans of the diligent lead to what? Profit. Watch this. When you're doing this before the month begins, before you get paid, before the bills show up, you have choices still. But if you run out of money on the 22nd, no choices left. That's the power of planning. Planners have an unfair advantage. And it turns out that when you do that, it honors the Lord. Let me ask you a question. If God chose to give you some money, you know He doesn't have to do that. But He's chosen to give you money because it is the Lord who gives you the ability to produce wealth, Deuteronomy 1:8. And He chooses to give you money. What would bless and honor Him the most? Thanking Him for providing it and saying, God, what do you want me to do with this? I'm going to put you first, and I'm going to plan the rest carefully, and I'm going to manage it well. Or God, I'm going to wing it. Yeah, let's think about that long and hard. Yeah, option A. But most of us wing it. And so I encourage you to put together this budget and do it in the next day and start planning it. And so there's two ways to fix this, but in this example, let's say I'm a high school coach and I'm a teacher. I don't have time in this month of March to figure out how to get more income. So I'm just going to cut out some expenses. Does that sound like a deal? So help me. What of these three expenses could I reduce? Spending money, entertainment? That's what I heard. Okay, so how much spending money should I take out? Who says all of it? I already heard all of it. All right, hands down, hide for a minute because I'm coming after you. That is not realistic. Spenders, can I speak on your behalf? My name is Joe Sangl. I've been nominated by Spenders Anonymous to speak on their behalf. If you take out all of our fun out of the budget, we may stick with this budget for 1 month. May is a big word. But after that, we're finding a hidden credit card and showing you what spending is. Power to the spender. Okay. The number one reasons why budgets don't work, and I submit to you, if you don't have a working budget right now, but you've tried, all of us have tried, the number one reason is we lie to ourselves when we prepare it. Why? Because we usually do it out of a fit of anger and frustration. We're mad at the situation, so we're like, that's it. I'm so sick and tired of this. Get in here, we're doing a budget. And you spend too much at the grocery store anyhow. And so with the pantry's full of junk, I give you $3 for groceries this month. And we're going to eat stuff out of the pantry. We're going to have canned salmon, canned Spam. We're going to have Spamming. It's going to be amazing. And some couscous and some quinoa or quinoa. And we're not going out to eat now while we're at it. We're not going out to eat ever. And we got 3 kids in travel sports, and we say we're not going out to eat at restaurants. Liar, right? And you're like, no, Joe, I went to Sam's Club, I went to Costco, and I bought a 55-gallon drum of Nutella. It's amazing, and it is Nutella. That is amazing. And we're just going to eat Nutella. And while that is amazing, and I want a 55-gallon drum of Nutella, after 17 meals of that, guess what you're going to find yourself doing? Going out to eat. So hear me on this. when you prepare your budget, don't lie to yourself. Be honest. Because the only person you're hurting is yourself. God came that you might have life and have it to the full. Put together a realistic plan. So knowing that, we need to reduce our spending money, but we can't cut it to zero. You're going to spend money. Maybe we cut it in half. Is that a deal? What about entertainment? You said that, but I want to go to my Purdue basketball game. No, I can't go? I can watch it on TV? Did somebody say that? I thought I heard that. Now listen, I'm going to show you something called good faith negotiating. If you tell me, I'm going to show you how to budget, especially if you're married, right? And you're two people managing this money. You can't say, hey, you can watch it on TV and then come back later and cut off my TV. And then hand me a $5 universal remote that you bought at the checkout line and have it programmed to my neighbor's TV and make me stand outside their window changing their channel. Which, by the way, is the best use of $5 you can ever have. Hey, you want to have fun? You want to have fun? Buy a universal remote. Did you know every universal remote comes with the programming instructions for every TV ever made? And you can program it to your friend's TV. Go over to their house. Ohio State's playing the Big Ten tournament. Change the channel on them. Just keep changing the channel on them. Have them up there changing all the wires. It is the best. It's awesome. It's hilarious. Anyhow, what if we went to the movies instead of the basketball game? How much will that cost? It's not costing $84, right? I got video of you going in the movie theater last week. You had a trench coat on. You're walking like this. And you have Junior Mints and Sugar Babies and a popcorn machine fell out. Who has snuck food in the movie theater? You're sinners. I call you to the altar, repentance. That is hilarious. Like the whole church and the staff. I'm over here. How you doing? Hey, how much does it really cost you to go to the movies? $40. You know, $30 for a trench coat and $10 for stopping. No, $40. $30 for tickets, $10 for a trench coat from Goodwill. $40. Okay. Can we reduce groceries? This is a family of 3. Hey, I've got a whole lesson on saving at grocery store. I'm going to rattle off some ways to save. Leave the spender at home. Don't take the kids. Don't go hungry. Shop the sales. Use some coupons. Go to Aldi, right? And make a list before you go. And it will change your life. And maybe you can cut out, what, $50? All right, what about dining out? Can you save money on dining out? Absolutely. How? Oh, I'm going to give you a great tip. This is a great tip. This is a tip, a bonus tip. If you have teenage kids, I'm going to help you. Because teenage kids they just eat so much food. Has anybody seen this? And so I've got a trick. This is a life hack. You ready? This is bonus. When you go shopping at Aldi or at Walmart or whatever, and there's cereal aisle, down below they have like bushel bales of cereal for about the price of a box of cereal. Buy the bushel bale, the big sack of it, and about an hour before you go out to eat, just set it on the counter. And your teenager will smell it. They'll just come in, and they'll eat like 17 bowls of it. And when you go out to eat, they actually order a reasonable amount of food instead of 17 meals. It'll save you a ton of money. They're like, I'm just not hungry. I don't know why. And you're like, I know why. You just ate a bale of cereal. It's awesome. See, that's free material. And I'll give you another tip. When you have kids and you go out to eat, give them a deal. Offer them a deal. Son, you can have a Sprite or you can have $1 if you get water. Come on. You don't have to worry about the sugar high. And the $1, you come out way ahead. For real. That's good. I like that. Okay? So maybe save $75 on dining out. We're getting close. Kids' clothing. Let's say I need some soccer shoes this month, and I found those at Goodwill. And can I trade babysitting with somebody? Yeah, maybe. Your situation will be different. This is just an example. And then can I reduce the emergency fund a little bit? Yes. Yes, I can. Now watch this. What just happened? It equals exactly 0. Trademark. Now, let me ask you a question. Is there giving in this budget? Is there saving in this budget? Is there some investing in this budget? Did we plan the rest? You can almost say that's a 6-word plan to win with your money. Give, save, invest, plan the rest. And it kind of rhymes. Right? And that's pretty good, right? This is not hard. Let me ask you a question. Can you automate your giving? I sat up here during the offering time and I gave online to Lighthouse today. Took me 31 seconds or something. That's great. Glad to do it. Fired up. I couldn't have done it if you didn't have online giving available. That was awesome. It's great. I've got the check written, baby. It won't clear. And listen, you can automate your giving. How awesome is that? Can you automate your investing? Absolutely. Has the government automated payroll tax collection? Yes. Can you automate your in saving? Yes. Can you automate the rest of it? You can automate your bill payments. Do you know why most people don't automate their bill payments? They don't have margin. And let me tell you, if you're struggling today, I want to tell you something that's going to be a sign to you that you've changed. And I'll tell you, I stopped being broke long before my bank account showed it. It was a mindset. It was a belief. Now watch this. When I was broke, I knew all the payday rules. Oh no, payday fell on a holiday. They're not going to pay me till the next day, till midnight. We're going to be broke forever, right? When you get unbroke, you forget when it's payday. Some of you don't even know what that's like. But you forget when it's payday. Another thing that you do when you're broke is you check your bank account balance like an addict. How deep in the overdraft am I? Am I near the overdraft? When you have margin, you don't do that. You view that as weird behavior. And that's where you can be. You can be there in less than 2 months. If you get serious, you can do it. You can do it. A budget will help you get there. Now, I'm going to stop for a second before we dive into debt, and I want to be very, very serious. I don't like budgets. I did not like a budget. I felt like budgets were restrictive and no fun. In fact, I used to burst out into poetry saying, you know, a budget makes me say no, and my name is Joe, and that interrupts my flow, so it's got to go, right? And I hated budgets. I'd done budgets, didn't work. And I read this verse, Proverbs 21:5, that says, the plans of the diligent lead to profit. And I was watching my beautiful Chicago Scrubs lose another baseball game. Back in the day, they were really bad. Back then, they were mathematically eliminated from playoff contention April 1st. Some of you know what I'm talking about those years, those decades. So which means I was taking a nap one Sunday afternoon, and my beloved bride back here, she comes walking in, and she says, Joseph, what do you think of this budget? It's July of 2003. And I immediately shrank back from it. I was like, get behind me, Satan. But she was cute. So I decided to look at it. And I realized that it balanced to exactly 0. And I had another stunning realization that you could have fun in the budget. I didn't know you could do that. And then I realized it could be an Excel spreadsheet. And my engineer heart started pitter-patting. And I went and I created this spreadsheet, and we put together our first ever budget that we actually followed. I sit here right now having just prepared our 189th consecutive budget. That's 15 years and 9 months. Lots of challenges, lots of them. Infertility. The heat pump in our house died. You ever had that happen? $5,000 to replace the dumb heat pump. Exactly how I wanted to spend money. In my high school yearbook, I wrote, when I'm 36, I want to spend $5,000 to replace a heat pump. Right? 6 months later, the upstairs unit, it was jealous, so it died too. It was less tonnage, so it was only $4,500. You ever had this happen? And then in vitro, then the hot water heater died, then my son flooded the kitchen, and then we had to tear off the roof. When I say the roof, I'm not meaning like the shingles. I mean the trusses were gone. I mean clear blue sky. Praise God it was clear blue sky. And we had to tear off everything down to the studs and the subfloor. And we, every month, had a budget. And then we found out the stunning news that our baby boy was on the way. And we're celebrating and high-fiving. It was unbelievable. And then I was like, oh, we don't have maternity insurance. How much does it cost to have a baby without insurance? A lot. No one at the hospital could tell me a number. Now, I can tell you the number. It's $13,500 when I paid cash. But he didn't have to go home with the shirt that says the hospital owns me. Every month, a budget. Every month. It's a fruit of the Spirit. Galatians 5:23. For the fruits of the Spirit are peace, patience, gentleness, loving kindness, right? Ends with self-control. It's discipline. It's diligence. Every month a budget. 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 And God was saying, I can trust these people. I'll send some more their way. I'll see if I can trust them with that. He leveled us up. Every month a budget. Every month a budget. Every month a budget. Then my business took a header. Has anybody had a business take a header? We lost $143,500 in a year. Get fired up. Woo! Never changed my life. You know why? Had margin. And the unending belief that God is my provider. That business is not my provider. God is my provider. And then the next year, God showed up and doubled up on the income. Every month. Every month. Every month. Every month. Where will you be 189 months from now, having prepared a plan every single month, God first, every single month saving, every single month investing, every single month. Can you do it? Will you do it? Do you know how it starts? 1 month. Do 1 month. Will you screw it up? Yes. Will you forget something? Yes. I have found no better way to honor God. No better way. In fact, for our businesses, every month, we put together a budget for everyone. Why? I've not found a better way. When I find it, I'll share it with you. Until then, don't do a budget for budget's sake. Do it because it is the fastest ticket towards the dream God has placed in your heart. Plus, it makes you a witness to the miracle He's getting ready to perform on your behalf. I am confident I would not even have seen some of the miracles if I had not been paying attention to it monthly. Amen? So do it. Who's going to try a budget in the next month? Okay, that's awesome. That's great. And you can do this. Now, one of the things that will help you greatly is to get rid of debt. And so debt, in fact, if you woke up tomorrow and all your debt was gone, all of it, house, all debt, on the count of 3, I want you to make the sound you'd make. 1, 2, 3. It's actually really loud. Hey, you see that phone number on the back of the book? After you call Dave Ramsey, dial our number up, 864-332-4151, and when we answer, just go, woo, click. Will you do that? You don't even have to tell us, just yell it. And if it's after hours, it records it. And actually, our longest one ever is from Chilliwack, British Columbia. It went on 3 minutes. I think they were partying. It was awesome. But they got debt-free, and it was awesome. And you know, Romans 13:8 says, let no debt remain outstanding except the continuing debt to love one another, for he loves his fellow man, has fulfilled the law. And Proverbs 22:7 says, the rich rule over the poor, and the borrower servant to the lender. And so I like to pay off debt with something called the debt snowball. And we have a debt freedom date calculator. Guess where it's located? On the website, and it's on the app. You can type in your debts, and we'll teach it in the ladder. These are rung 4 debts on here. Rung 7 includes the house. And you put in all your debts, and it adds up all your debt, $34,121, and pretends it's one big debt. And then it puts in the payments you're really paying, $927, and pretends it's one big payment. And it calculates your debt freedom date of 36.8 months. The average family in here, if you have non-house debt, car debt, student loan debt, furniture debt, credit card debt, you can be debt-free, except for the house, in 1 to 3 years. And the average family in here would free up $500 to $1,250 a month in payments. What else could you do with that money? Hey, anybody here want a pay raise? You could get the biggest pay raise of your life by becoming debt-free. Here's the news flash. When you pay off your debt, the next month, you get to keep the money. It's unbelievable, right? And so watch this. This is the debt snowball. And so this is without any pay raise, no bonuses, no tax refunds, no overtime, no second job, no selling some stuff. It'll take 16 months to get rid of this furniture, okay? Now watch this. If you have high interest credit cards, and you're paying on those balances, I encourage you to roll those over to 0% balance transfer offers. You may have an offer in the mail. We have a running list of them under our Next Steps area under 0% balance transfer cards. You could do that tonight and transfer a 21.99% balance to 0%. That's huge, right? And so in about 16 months, that furniture leaves. This is without any bonuses, and it's called the debt snowball, so that because when you pay off that furniture debt, you take the 125 and add it to the 87. And watch this. The rest of them have went down because swiper, no swiping. None of this works if you keep adding debt. And so in about 6 more months, the credit card number 1 leaves. And credit card 2 is almost gone. In another month, it leaves. You get to the car, and what used to be huge, it's gone in 3 months. And then you get to Sally Mae, and you call her up and say, hey, baby, we breaking up. And you're debt free. Do you see that? And I encourage you to check that out and do your calculation, because it provides a certain energy and fuel that helps you stick to the budget. You can be debt free. You can own your car outright. You can never have a car payment again. It's awesome. I've not had a car payment since 2004 when I paid off my last one. And I've paid cash for every car since. And let me tell you, you can do the same thing. And it's a huge thing to be able to be debt free, because it maximizes every dollar you do possess. Some people got really angry at their credit cards and sent me pictures. These people chopped theirs up and spelled no new debt. These people burnt theirs with an oxyacetylene cutting torch. But they're from Georgia, so we'll pray for them. Now listen, if you use your credit cards carefully with a plan and you never have a balance, never pay interest, get all the points you want, baby. Go to Hawaii for free on your points. I had to cut mine up, and I lived for 6 years without a credit card because I could not trust me. They enabled impulsiveness. 6 years later, I went back and got a credit card, and let me tell you, I've never paid a dime of interest since because I had changed my behavior through diligence. Make sense? And we run more than $1 million a year through credit cards, and that's a lot of points, and that's awesome. And so it's hard to see progress on paying off debt. And so we created visual ways to track it called debt payoff spectaculars. And so we heard this statement once saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so we made debts bite-sized. And we created a whole coloring book of these. And basically you take what you paid for this minivan. Let's say we bought a minivan for $32,000. I'm going to pull up my calculator here. $32,000, and I divide it by 454 squares, and it means every square represents $70.48 of principal. Make sense? It made it bite size. So every time I got an extra 70 bucks or so, I have a choice to make. Go out to eat or color in a square. What do you think I did? No, I went out to eat. I told you I'm a spender, right? No. I discovered the power of working together, and we colored in squares. And so we have a whole coloring book of these. And we have a truck payoff spectacular. We have over 100 of these, by the way. We have a car payoff spectacular. We have a Jeep payoff spectacular. We have a student loan payoff spectacular. We have a TV payoff spectacular. We have a credit card payoff spectacular. This idea went so nuts, we even have a llama payoff spectacular. And that's funny. I don't care who you are. Do you know why we have a llama payoff spectacular? Someone we met financed a llama for real. And if that's you, there's a special coaching session with me after this. It's very special. That's why llamas spit. They're financed, right? That's funny. I don't care. But we also have saving spectaculars. So if you're saving up to pay cash for a llama or for a Harley, or for a fishing boat and a ski boat, because I think you need one of each. I think so. And it's a need, not a want. Or if it's LASIK eye surgery or Disney cruise. And we got all of them on there, over 100. But here's the deal I'll make with you. If we don't have the one you want, email us. We'll make it for you for free and send it to you. Is that awesome? We full service. That's what we is. Awesome. And so then you can add in your house on this debt payoff calculator, and it will tell you how long it'll take you to pay it off. We also have an early payoff calculator for your house where you can put in the terms of your loan, the interest rate, the amount you owe, what your principal and interest payment is, and how much you want to pay extra per month. And you can change it around. And it will tell you how many months and years you'll take off of that loan and how much interest you'll avoid paying. Don't use it unless you want to get really fired up. When we did that, it took us only 72 months to pay off our house. We were fired up. And it's awesome. It's amazing what 50 extra bucks a month will do on a 30-year note. Amazing. Okay? So is this helping anybody? All right, we're going to finish with retirement and compound interest. Retirement is one of those big things. Some of you have navigated into retirement. Others, you're close to it. And others, it seems like it's kind of way off here. And so Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. So let me ask the question. At your current rate of building net worth, what type of inheritance are you going to leave for your grandkids, your children's children? I can tell you when I first asked myself the question, I didn't like my response. Now, let me tell you, an inheritance of money is great, but it must come with an inheritance of the legacy of your faith. It must come with an inheritance of knowledge of how to use it, or else it'll ruin them. Hey, something I want to press in. I want to ask this question. I really feel led to ask this question really right now. It's kind of weird. Be honest. How many here, you do not have a written will? You don't have a written will. Raise your hand. Go to page 7 or 11 and write down, get a will. It's over 3/4 of this church. You need to get a will. Hey, of those that didn't raise your hand, I would ask you, when's the last time you looked at your will? I bet you haven't looked at it in the last 5 years, most of you. And so I encourage you to look at it. Life changes, doesn't it? And so me and my bride just updated our will. You know, our daughter's 19 now. We want her to be in first place to raise her younger siblings. And then I looked at who was in second place to raise our kids. I'm like, oh my goodness, no, right? So there's different things that change. And one of the things I encourage you to do in your will is to consider leaving a gift to advance the gospel in your will. We have a tithe built into our will to be given. And so I encourage you to do that. And it's something that I'm really passionate about because I want, when that will is read, for them to hear about my trust in my Savior. I want them to hear my legacy of faith and how the Lord has brought me through. And let me tell you, no one getting out of here alive. I hear people say, if I die. False, right? There's only one person who got back up and stayed up. You will not be the second, right? We preach a message, Lazarus, he's alive. He died again. No preacher teaches that message, right? But he died again, right? So make sure you have a will. And something I want to encourage you to do in that will, I do press in on you to do this. I encourage you to write letters to the people that mean the most to you. We call it letters of gratitude. You can do it with a video as well, but there's something about a handwritten note where you can say, let me tell you something. You have meant more to me than life itself. You've been there every step of the way. And let me tell you, you will cry as you write the letters. As you write these letters to your grandkids, as you write these letters to your kids. But let me tell you something, people who get those letters, that letter never gets thrown away. And it's your last act of stewardship is the ability to be able to pass on this legacy of faith and love. How awesome is that? You know, I felt led to throw that in there. Okay, let's talk about retirement. We have a retirement calculator located, guess where? Yeah, it's on the website. Isn't that awesome? There's over 100 tools on there. And so let me encourage you to go back to page 11. I want you to write down a couple of websites. One of them is annualcreditreport.com. Annualcreditreport.com, A-N-N-U-A-L, annual like yearly. Annualcreditreport.com is a free website mandated by the federal government that says if credit bureaus are making decisions about you based on your credit, you should have free, fair, and unfettered access to your credit report. So by logging in there, you can get your free credit report from Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion once per year. You should do this once a year. Set it on your calendar to go to Annual Credit Report, get your free credit report. You won't get your credit score, although many of you can get it through your credit card company. They'll give you your credit score every month. But your credit report is free through annualcreditreport.com, no charge. The second website I want you to write down is the Social Security Administration website, ssa.gov. Some of you have already opened your account at ssa.gov, but some of you are in your 40s, you're in your 50s, you're in your 30s, you're in your 20s, and you're like, why would I do that? Here's why. It used to be on or about your birthday, you would get a statement from Social Security that would say, here's your earnings history, here's how much money you can expect to receive at retirement at different retirement ages. But due to identity theft concerns, they stopped sending that. You can still get that annually in your account. And you need to make sure that any money withheld from you by that weird thing called FICA is actually being credited to you, and it's an important part of your planning for retirement. So let's say you looked at Social Security. By the way, when it comes to retirement, I recommend a minimum of 3 streams of revenue coming to you, okay? Some of you have a pension coming to you, right? You served in the military, you're a teacher, you have a pension. That's one stream. A second stream could be Social Security. A third stream could be 401k or similar retirement investment. A fourth stream could be a small business or a rental property. But I recommend you have at least 3 streams. And so Social Security will be fixed, pension will be fixed. And so let's say in addition to that, you want $40,000 from your other oxen. So $40,000 additional dollars. So let's say from Social Security, it's going to pay you $30,000 a month, and you have a small pension that's going to pay you $6,000 a year. Not $30,000 a year, sorry. $30,000 a year. And $6,000 a year from a baby pension you had from somewhere. So that's $36,000. That's not an ideal retirement, but let's do a deal. Let's do a virtual agreement right now, and we're going to shake on this if you agree to it. Let's do a deal that we'll all show up at retirement with no debt at all, including the house. Is that a deal? Let's shake on it. All right, we're shaking. Okay? So $3,000 a month would go way farther than if you have no debt. And let's say in addition to that $36,000 a year, you would get $40,000 from your other investments, your 401k, your rental houses, things like that. And so that'd be pretty good retirement, right? $76,000 a year and you have no debt. That's $6,333 a month and you have no debt. That'd be pretty good. And so if you retire today, depending on the rate of return of your investment, you need somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million of net worth income producing assets. Get fired up. And if you retire in 10 years, I've got 4% inflation in here because I like to be conservative. It says you'll need $59,201 a year to buy what $40,000 can buy today. So you need somewhere around $740,000 to $1,480,000. You fired up now? Hey, those of you under 30, if you retire in 40 years, you'll need $192,000 a year to buy what $40,000 can buy today, and you need $2.4 to $4.8 million. Get fired up. You should see your faces. Remember, I started out by saying this is when we had called Carrie Underwood up to sing that old hymn, Jesus, Take the Wheel? Was I right? Let's finish with compound interest. Proverbs 30:11 says, dishonest money dwindles away, but he who gathers money a lot by a lot makes it grow. No? What's it say? You're listening. Little by little. Aren't you so glad? You know, the reason I said a lot by a lot is I think many of you just went through a 4-stage thought process. See if this is true. The first thought process when you saw those retirement numbers was, oh my goodness, that is a lot of money. True? The second thought was, I need to invest a lot of money. Yeah? The third thought was, I do not have a lot of money. And the fourth thought was, well, he finished, so I'm going out to eat on a credit card. Right? Is that true? You know I'm right. In the last 4 minutes, I'm going to finish and show you can get there faster than you thought. God does multiplication too. $100 a month for 40 years. We're going to finish on page number 10. $100 a month for 40 years, 12% growth. This is not a savings account. This is investments. Is $1,176,477. Joe, I don't have 40 years. That's why I'm encouraging you to step on the gas and get debt-free sooner so that you can invest more than $100 a month. Some of you, if you got debt-free, you can invest $1,000 a month. There are many people in this room, you can invest $3,000 a month if you got debt-free, including your house. And you could position yourself not only for a great retirement, but to bless the multitudes. Let me show you how this works. This is type 2 income. You put away $100. It's in an investment. It's a rental house. It's a stock S&P 500 index fund, something like that. And it earns $1. 12% a year divided by 12 months is 1%, earns $1. That's type 2 income. And the next month, you have $201. And this is why it's called compound interest, because the dollar they gave you, they have to give you interest on. Do you see it? They had to give you a penny. Are you fired up? Abe Lincoln's getting ready to flex. After a year, he is $68.25 a head. You put in $1,200. And broke thinking says, Joe, it isn't worth it. $68, I'd rather spend the $1,200. I would tell you what the farmer knows. Don't eat the seed. It's the seed. And so watch this. After 5 years, it's $81.67. After 10 years, it's $23,000. And then it's $98,000 after 20 years. And then it's $187,000. Then it's $349,000. Then it's $643,000. And then it's a number you wrote down, $1,176,477. And this assumes that this person is a complete bozo. For real, you know why? They never got a pay raise in their entire life. And they invested only $100 a month. Why didn't they teach us this in kindergarten? You know what I'm saying? And so I encourage you, start where you're at. You cannot go back. Start where you are. And you can do this. And so the last thing I wanted to share with you is there is no harvest if you do not invest. You got to start somewhere. I encourage you to start tomorrow. You have any questions, I encourage you to meet with a coach. You can email us. You can call us. We would love to help you get started. I do not sell investments. I'm not a registered investor, but I want to see you win. Download our investments. Go meet with an investment advisor. It can hugely help you. Will Rogers says, even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. And so I encourage you to turn to page 11 and write down your next step. What is your next step? Is it to tithe? You can't take 20 next steps, but you can take one. Is it to prepare a written spending plan, a budget? Is it to move your high interest debt to low and no interest debt? Take advantage of those 0% balance transfer offers? Call your different debt holders and ask them to lower the rate? The worst they can do is say no. And then calculate your debt freedom date. Use our early debt payoff calculator. That'll fire you up. And then you can use our retirement calculator, and then there's a monthly investment calculator to say, what have you already got invested? What are you investing per month? And it will tell you whether or not you're on track for retirement. And then the last thing is to participate in the group study. That's going to launch. So take a look at this card right here, and I encourage you to be a part of the study. Even if you're winning with money, let me tell you the value you bring to the group. You have a testimony. And you get to share what God has done in your life, not for bragging, but to bring glory to Him and to inspire others. We need 180,000 of you teaching others. And so I encourage you to sign up for the Wednesday class or the Sunday class. And one of the things I want to encourage you to do, you'll need a study kit to be a part of it. And so that's a copy of my book and the study guide. I teach it via DVD, and you'll fill in the blanks like you did tonight. The very first lesson is all new stuff. There's additional stuff on insurance, on sustaining this stuff for the long term, additional stuff on investing and on budgeting, including for those of you with irregular, seasonal, or cyclical income, how to prosper while budgeting with unpredictable income. That's in there as well. That study kit is $30. You can pick it up at the table tonight. I'd be happy to sign any books as well, and you can be a part of that group and turn in that card. The other thing is, on this card, you can sign up to meet with a financial coach. In fact, I trained some coaches. Are any of them here? Will you stand up, coaches? Any of them here? Here, and right here, Dwayne, Tim. And we have 3 others. Thank you so much for being with us yesterday. Listen, they will meet with you for free, confidentially, and help you get your plan put together. If you want that coaching and you agree to show up, right? Don't view it like a diet. I'm not feeling it. They're volunteering their time. And number 2, show up prepared. Check that box. I want to meet with a financial coach. There are others in this room, you want to be a coach. You're like, I would love to coach others. Say right next to it, I want to be a coach. We'll train you up, okay? And that we want you to be a part of that. I've got a couple other resources, and now I'll hand it back to Pastor. I've got this book, Oxen. This one is about investing. So if you're ready to get your money working for you, I talk about how do you get oxen. And many of you have great ideas, but you just don't have the resources to get the idea off the ground. I show you how to prepare that plan so that you can get, money will flow to a great plan. Trust me, I don't want to work another plan, but I got money that I'll invest in somebody else's plan. And so I encourage you to pick this up. It shows you how to measure net worth, how to lead oxen once you get them. We also have audio books of I Was Broke, Now I'm Not, and Oxen. So if you're on the Go Learner, I read those into a microphone so you can hear me read those books. And then I have one other resource. It's for high schoolers and 20-somethings. And I had people coming up after this event saying, where were you 40 years ago? I said, well, I was 4, so, I was at church probably. And they said, man, I wish I'd known this back then. And I said, you know what? I wish I did too. So I wrote a book on preventing money mistakes. And I titled it, What Everyone Should Know About Money Before They Enter the Real World. And I find it's appropriate for those in high school and early 20-somethings. It's got chapters on student loans where we teach them, hey, if you're going to school for a 4-year degree, you should graduate in 4 years or less, not 6. If somebody pays for 2 extra years of school, you forfeit 2 years' income, that can be $100,000 mistake. We have a chapter on credit scores. How do you get them? Why do you need one? A chapter on buying your first house. And there's a 6-week Bible study written with it as well. And the goal is that the kids can go through this study while the parents are going through that study, and it can really facilitate a conversation maybe unlike one you've had before. And so I encourage you to check out those resources. One other thing, I'm going to sit out there at that table and answer questions until at least 9 o'clock or until Pastor kicks me out of here. And I would love to be able to answer questions. So if you have personal financial questions you'd like to ask about, I'd love to be able to help you with that. And of course, you can email us as well. And one other thing, thank you so much. Thank you so much for coming back tonight on a snowy night, being a part of this, to listen to this stark raving fool yell about this. And I pray, thank you. I pray right now, Lord, that you would give an incredible return on investment for their time spent here tonight. God, I pray for clarity of next steps. God, I pray for supernatural blessing of their financial investments. God, they're going to put seed in the ground. You are the one that will grow it. As it's written, I planted the seed, Apollos watered it, but it is you, God, who is making it grow. God, I pray for an abundant harvest. And when you do it, Lord, may we be careful to give you all the praise, all the credit, and all the glory. It's in your name we pray, in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless each of you.